Hey y'all. So I haven't done a video in a while because life has been doing what life does when one is a working class individual living in the imperial core of a faltering nation that is struggling against its faltering. And with that said, I've not forgotten at all about the channel, all of you, and what it is that I want to do. And so my partner and I have been thinking about how we want to engage differently. Not only to make it more sustainable for us, but also to make sure that we are engaging in a manner that is ethically sound given our political and analytical orientations. As a person who is working class and often living paycheck to paycheck, I don't want to be yet another subscription, nickel and diming away the incomes of people who may already be stretched thin. So we're thinking and inviting you to think with us about the ways that we can create community around the kind of content we handle here. What I love doing is discussing media and cultural production through the lenses of Black radical thought. However, I'm also seeing that there is a veritable desert of people discussing Black sociopolitical thought, and more importantly, Black philosophy as important thinking worthy of being engaged as thought. When Black thinkers are invoked, it is usually to point out the historiography of Black thinking, an approach that has a humanist bent to it, basically saying that Black people think too, as though that is a capacity we've got to prove. The ideas, however, are rarely engaged. So, someone like Anton Wilhelm Amo is spoken of as a historic figure. Frantz Fanon is discussed as a decolonial scholar, but his interventions on both psychoanalytic and existentialist schools of thought, and on how Black people show up in the white psyche and vice versa, and what this means for subjectivity and meaning making, are largely absent. Thought movements like negritude are thought of as belonging to Black people and for Black people, while Western thought is not only elevated as civilization making and universal, but thought to be necessary as canonical Western thinkers are redeemed over and over again, despite their anti Blackness, their anti Semitism, or their misogyny. So, I also want this channel to represent an arena for the very serious study of Black thought and the implications of Black moving, doing, and creating. Some of my thinking about why Black philosophy and Black thought or thinking isn't considered a thing is because of how it shows up in music, resistance strategies, short stories, and fictional books. For what it does, Black thinking shakes the foundational assumptions we've made about what it means to be human, what it means to be civilized, what knowledge is, and it has challenged those that have been traditionally held as titans of thought. So, Black thinkers and non-Black thinkers who take Black thought seriously have called into question the philosophical contributions of such luminaries as Kant, Heidegger, Foucault, Arendt, de Beauvoir, Lacan, Butler. And Black thought often comes out of bodies not held sufficiently worthy of having their thinking and orientations to society and the metaphysics thereof seriously. Yes, we honor the likes of Glissant and Mills, Winter, Baldwin, Guy Sheftall, Fanon, etc., but also of Lucy Parsons, Fannie Lou Hamer, C.C. McDonald. And I'm not the only person who shares the thought that the critical eye turned toward Western thinking by Black thinkers is the very heights of the critical philosophical tradition. This thinking is shared by people like Doctors Lewis Gordon and Jared Sexton. I've said this before, but Blackness is the threshold of thought. And so many living and young thinkers are taking it upon themselves to begin the project of approaching this frontier. I want this to be a space where conversations with and about the thinking of these people can happen. I also want to take more seriously another passion of mine, travel. A major caveat, however, I'm not into luxury travel as I feel that luxury should be abolished. And I also want to honor the peoples who find themselves in struggles against power in various places where Western travel fuels oppression. But this is part of my larger interest in Blackness, both in its material manifestations and in all of its abstractions. I want to converse across the African diaspora, sure, but also across all of global Blackness. Let me say here that I probably have a much more open idea of who is Black than most. I, for one, do not believe that Blackness is something that should or even can be gatekept, and unfortunately, is not something that those of us who have been blackened can control. For centuries, the darkest peoples on the planet, whether from Africa, South Asia, or Pacifica, have had Blackness imposed on us and have suffered and continue to because of it. And where my thinking is leading me is toward an inquiry that raises the stakes of our study, of our engagement in and with the world. I am being led to question the pursuit of freedom and liberation and driven towards questions of incapacitation instead. I want to delve, yes, into racialized phenotypic Blackness and the subsequent material conditions that arise for those who are Black and blackened. But I also want to look at Blackness more deeply, conceptually, and at the highest levels of abstraction. And honestly, I'm curious about what being dark-skinned has meant and how Blackness has been thought prior to racialization. I want to see what it makes impossible, what it breaks, what happens when we plumb the abyss, or what happens when everything is plunged into it. In these times and in these places, in this project that we call Westernization, there has never been a more apt time, yes, to act, but more importantly, to study, to think what a truly Black demand is and what it would yield in a time like this. So when it comes to Voodoo Monkeyfoot, all our offerings will now be free and our Patreon will be donations only. Should you decide to financially support our work, we will be immensely grateful. But I want us to think sustainable, studied community differently together. I want to figure out how we can share space, like actual space. I think that this medium is great, but I want to see you all and eat good food and listen to good music and talk and plan and figure out what life in the void, in the extra spatial temporal abyss looks like and what it might take to submerge this whole shit into it. So, thank you for being here, for being willing to discourse with us, and for your future contributions on how we might be able to build intentional spaces for Black study.